In this video, I'm going to go over an example of how to find an inverse function. So let's call this example 1. Okay. So let's say I have a function, I'm going to call it f of x, and let's say it's equal to 2x plus 3. And the question is, find f inverse. So with a little -1 of x. Okay. So basically find the inverse function of f. Okay, so how do we do this? So if you remember the general technique, first we have to write things in terms of x and y, switch x and y, and then solve for y. So first, let's figure out how to write this in terms of just x and y. So f of x, any f of x or g of x or h of x or whatever it is, this is the output. So the best way to write this is we simply write y is equal to 2x plus 3. All I've done is just rewrite this f of x in terms of y, because y is the output and so is f of x. All right, that's all I've done, and I haven't done anything fancy or anything like that. So simply y is equal to 2x plus 3. So step number 1 is we have to switch the x and y. So step one is switch x and y. That's all we have to do. So if I switch x and y over here, this y becomes x, the 2 remains as is, and the x then becomes y plus 3. And then step 2 says solve for y. So if I have to solve for y in this case, well, first I have to subtract 3 and move it to the other side. So it becomes x minus 3 is equal to 2y. And then now if I just want to isolate y, I have to divide by 2 on both sides. So I have to divide by 2 here and divide this whole thing by 2 there. The 2's cancel out. So I end up with y is equal to x minus 3 divided by 2. And I'm almost done. You might think, oh, well, we're almost done. We found the inverse function. But hold on. I didn't ask you to find for y. I asked you to find f inverse, that f little -1 of x. So the last step that you have to do is simply write it as f inverse of x is equal to x minus 3 divided by 2. So what does this mean? This means that if my original function is f of x equals 2x plus 3, the inverse function, in other words, if I switch the x and y, what I end up with is the inverse function will be x minus 3 divided by 2. And that's the inverse function. In the next video, I'm going to go through one more example of this.